Hi, I'm Yappo,
And I'm Agent 355.
and welcome back to Grim Dawn.
A more successful version of Grim Dawn where I don't crash every time.
Yep, I tried recording this one at 60 FPS. It didn't turn out super great.
Because could you not get a normal 60?
No, I got like 50 most of the time, so it's... this is actually the first time I'm watching the encoding, though. It looks pretty good.
It's fine, yeah.
Because this game looks way, way better at 60 FPS than it does at 30 FPS.
It's actually a pretty good looking game. People have complained that the game has a lot of muddy sort of like browns and greens and stuff, and like, well, that's true, but it's a dark, depressing game set in like a Cthulhu-esque setting, so yeah, it's gonna have a lot of muddy browns and greens. But from the muddy browns and greens, it's super cool.
So yeah, this guy is like, oh, hey, I need to get back there, and so we can extort him or just send him back.
Yeah, there's a bunch of quests that have multiple outcomes that offer slightly different things, you know. A little bit more experience, a little bit more coins, you know. There's not normally just a right and wrong answer. It's never a case where, like, this gives you something and the other thing doesn't give you anything. There are, however, some that are, like, better and worse outcomes, but not in that instance.
So this is the town we're supposed to go to is just over that way. So we can repair the bridge and go across, or we can go through this cool dungeon and get more devotion points and cool stuff.
Yeah, you can take a shortcut if you were a speedrunner, but there's a boss to fight in here as well as a devotion shrine. So,
And
oh my God, it's bothering me that you aren't like rotating the screen.
So Titan Quest you can't rotate, right?
Right, cannot rotate. You are stuck. And the same thing I want to say with Diablo 2. You're stuck.
So I've played so much Titan Quest that I'm like, this is the view I have. This is it. There's no changing it.
Right, but in this game you can freely rotate the camera. And since I typically like to be moving up on my screen, like I always want to be running up. Because with this camera you can see a little bit further up than you can if you're down due to the angle of the camera.
So you're constantly rotating around to make sure you're headed the right direction?
Yes, so my up, whichever direction I'm running is my up, which is going to be really horrible because a lot of times they're going to say things like to the left, and it's going to be my left, and it's not going to be your left at all.
Yeah, I wondered about that because there was a couple times where you're like to your left, and I'm like, what? Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, I forget that. Yeah, I forget that you could theoretically play this game without rotating the screen. That's fine. I mean, some people play video games wrong. What are you going to do?
Rude.
We are almost out of the portion of the game where everything is a fucking joke, and we'll be slowing down and like exploring. But it's basically going to be out the other side of this, and then through some dilapidated fields, and then that'll be where we are. So have no fear.
There's plenty more dilapidated, ruinous places to visit. Don't worry.
True, but we'll be dilapidated next.
And we get another one where it's just kill enemies, and it's...
Yeah, those are the best ones, because, you know, doesn't take any of my items.
And there's just a whole army of skeletons just standing there waiting for stuff to show up.
Here's a boss. He's dead. Moving on.
At least I saw him that time. So
yeah.
I helped, too. I had a couple of the explosions going. So we are back to agent hosting now, so there might be a few small spots of lag, but for the most part, it's been doing pretty good. I think we finally got our tech system worked out.
Yeah. I was changing equipment out.
So when he changes equipment, he's just like, oh, this is the old stuff, I don't care, and drops it on the ground.
Right. And it confused Yappo. So he's fallen behind, and now he won't see the next bunch of enemies dying again. Off I go. I came back. Look at me, I'm polite.
Such a nice young man. Yeah, that was
Go ahead.
Entire underground thing to get through there. We just kind of cruise through it.
Yeah, that's actually a really big, sprawling maze-like area, but if you just kind of stick to the right-hand wall, normally you can get through it pretty quick.
Yeah, we hit all the important bits.
Oh, hello, traveler.
The group of refugees. We ask if they want to go to town with us, and they're like, "Nah, man, we don't want to go to your filthy, stinking town. We're much safer out here in the woods."
They've
So
got
sure, whatever.
a little like tiny fence-looking thing there. It's fine.
So this area is actually like I would say probably like the first step up in difficulty. Like if you come here with like a normal not skeleton, build.
This area has I have played this far before in previous playthroughs, and I have almost died a lot right here.
Yeah, it's these gremlin goblin things are not kidding around. They also have healers who will heal them up, and the healers do full heals. It's not like little heals. So sometimes you'll be fighting one of the big bruiser berserker goblins and almost have him dead, and then the healer will just like full health him. So it can be pretty tough. We're not going to have too much issue though.
Yeah, the big thing for me was the AoE damage, but my bugs do enough that it's just nuking them. Oh, and more cultists.
Yeah. Now this is another kind of secret area. You have to break a wall to get out to where we are. It's not that secret though, because it is on the map. There are many secret areas that are on the map at all. But we're hoping that they drop a thing called the Strange Key. It's a quest item. It opens up a door, and you can get it off any cultists in Act 1. And we're hoping to get lucky and find one, because there's quite a few cultists up here. But it doesn't seem like we did. So there's this door over here we can't get yet. It's locked, so don't worry about it.
I always love glitches like that. It's locked. It's open. No, it's locked. But what?
Yeah, no, like why would you expect it to be anything but locked? And so, so we can't do anything. That'll actually be relevant later in this video, because there's a quest you can do to get the Strange Key as well. But we'll talk about that when it shows up.
Yep, so we're still just trucking along trying to find Burrwitch, right?
Yep, we're in Burrwitch outskirts right now, which is like, this is the farms outside of town. And as we head through this area, we're going to go from woods to farms to the actual, like, kind of like low-rent part of town.
Go to the wrong side of the tracks, and then we'll hit the actual town.
Right. There's a number of quests in here. There's, off the top of my head, like 3 or 4 to do. So we got to take kind of like a windy route through this area. But luckily, I played this game so much, I know where pretty much everything is. And while I'm inevitably going to miss some small things, we should not have too much issue. I know I missed a quest in the last video, for instance. I couldn't remember exactly where it was, and I didn't want to spend time finding it. So here's the blacksmith we were sent to find.
Yeah, the refugees were like, hey, he's got a super cool blacksmithing hammer that we need.
Right. And we find him, and he's like, well, I don't want to, my apprentice doesn't need me anymore, I'm going to stay here. And then you can either take him with you or the apprentice. And the difference is one of them has more physical blacksmithing recipes, and the other has more magical recipes. So obviously, you took the magical one, like light pistols and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and as you can see, there are these goblin things fucking everywhere.
Yeah, the goblin camps have a very high density of goblins. This game loves big fucking monster groups. As you play more, you'll actually like get used to these big groups, and the higher difficulties are just super dense packed enemies.
Oh, and the beast despises now.
Yeah, so which I think getting despised is the first reputation step for enemies, and it makes bigger monster pack spawns. So you just get more of them.
Yep. Looks like despised is the first one. So there's the Ethereals and Chthonians, which I think we've talked about before, and beasts, and then the Devil's Crossings and the Rovers are the good guys, and as a general rule, isn't it, the more the factions that hate us, the more crazy enemies they spawn?
Yes.
And then the more...
and for filling it up, you get, like, turbo bosses. And then for friendlies, you get access to new quests, as well as new gear and equipment and options. And the gear they give you is not just regular gear. There's like powders you can use to enhance your current gear with boosted offense or defense. So, like, it's actually really, really, really worth, like, kind of remembering about them going back. Level 35, that's the first time we're going to be doing anything with faction members.
Which seems like a long way off, but we've been leveling fairly quickly.
Yeah, we'll be level 35 in, like, beginning of Act 3, probably. Maybe mid-Act 4. So the other thing is that while there was only 5 factions listed, there's actually like 15 or 20 factions in the game. It's obviously we haven't run into the other people yet. So
yeah, these are just the factions that we have killed and or helped so far.
Also, the way the factions work is it can take a little bit of grinding to max out any given faction. But once you've maxed it out, you can get a piece of equipment that you can transfer to other characters, which gives you like 100% faction gain, meaning only one character has to grind it out. The other characters who don't grind it out just get to like use this bonus item and just basically max it without effort.
Which is a nice feature. Like, they're kind of a nice compromise between, oh, we should make a game really grindy, and oh, grinding kind of sucks for a lot of people. So just do it once.
Right. You have to do it once, and then once you've done it once, it's basically if you're generally speaking going to at least halfway max the bar, just like by accident. So if you have the item that gives you 100% gains, you will max the bar like by accident, and if you do have to grind, it will not be. Particularly the friendly factions are the most important ones to max, and also the easiest. It's not hard to max friendly factions at all.
Yeah, because then we start getting quest tables and stuff eventually, right?
Yeah. There's like randomly generated quests if you want to do those, and those will max you out real quick, but those shouldn't be even necessary. So
you're not necessary.
Totally, like I said.
I would not know anything about this game, and I would just be like wandering around, rubbing my face on stuff, trying to find secrets.
There's a lot of secrets here, which is probably like my favorite part. I love the fact that this game has so many secrets that even after 400 hours, I'm still finding things.
I feel like Blood Bowl's like that, but instead of secrets, it's bugs.
Yeah, that's pretty true. So there's a guy hanging out in the swamp. We're trying to find him. I can never remember. This guy, like, the swamp is big enough and kind of, like, swirly enough. I don't remember exactly where he is. But, like, I genuinely remember he's roughly in the middle along the edge of the water.
Nargle Blarthar, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And so we get our first fancy crafting component, because these are all, like, the monster components in Titan Quest and things like that.
We do still have some in Titan Quest. Like it was stuff like you can find boar leather, and only boars drop boar leather. Yeah, that stuff still sort of happens here. There are still some things that only certain monsters can drop. Here's our friend.
Well, I'll be a living person.
Oh yeah, so it's just this is the quest. It's just send him back. It's fine.
Yep. He's a cook. We're like, great, cool. So yeah, so there's still some items that like if you fight certain bosses will drop like unique components, and like ghosts can drop ectoplasm, but like other things can't. But it's also not nearly as limited. Like chests can drop anything, except for like very special ones. So you can still find things, and things aren't locked by act either. Like if you remember in Titan Quest, it was like all the Greek ones were in Act 1, and once you get to Act 2, you can never find another Greek one. Yeah, they don't.
Which I mean makes sense from like a lore perspective and stuff, but makes gameplay tedious as fuck.
Yeah, it's not the gameplay aspect is like not great for that. Also, we gotta kill these two big guys. The guy in town who like got mad at you if you were like a pansy and didn't like talk about how much you love killing. These are the other two guys you should kill. It can be a hard fight if you only have one player, because like both of those dudes will aggro to you.
And it's an even easier fight when they aggro to skeletons, and you just go, okay, that's fine. Do you think?
Yeah. The way there's aggro tables in this game, and it works a little bit. It's a bit finicky, and I don't really know enough to explain it completely. But the bottom line is, the more spells you cast, the more they aggro to you. And that includes like right clicks and things like that. Since my character myself doesn't even have any spells to cast yet, they never aggro to me, and I get free reign to run around. They literally just won't even try to hurt me.
You're just like, oh, look at this cute creature it's like a little bunny.
Yeah, I'm just like an adorable, like I'm a team mascot. they spend all the time trying to kill dudes. So the other thing this game has, again, secrets. There's a big hidden boss here, and he's actually really tough. And he has one of 3 spawn spots, and I checked the 2 of them already. And because he wasn't in either of those 2, we're gonna go check the 3rd, which I got kind of turned around here. We're gonna go back.
And the whole time, I'm just a part of the skeleton army.
I'm the tour guide. I know where we're going, and so you're gonna end up kind of tagging along a little bit behind me most of the time.
I really need to get something with like just 5% extra move speed, because that would really help me out here.
Oh right, yeah, just so it was just easier to follow.
So that's the warning message you get when you're about to go fight something that's way higher level than you are.
Yeah, there are 2 of those warning messages in the game, both in Act 1, because this was early access stuff at one point, and so these were like the hard bosses to like try your low level builds on. It's still not super bad.
No, but we also had a bunch of people just wailing on him. Oh, this is one of the fancy chests, isn't it?
No, this isn't one of the guaranteed unique chests. But I, however, did find I actually found his unique medal. So because this guy actually has a specific unique item that he can drop that won't drop anywhere else in the game. And there are higher level versions of it too, if you want to come back and fight him on higher difficulty levels. And some builds might theoretically like have this as like a really good item or something, like something I really wanted. So you might end up like trying to grind him to get this particular drop. I dropped it, but I was still inside, so.
It was like, what's happening? Okay.
So it's just if you do bleeding damage or internal trauma damage, like it's pretty good. It's just an item.
I like that, everyone's like, oh, bleeding, surface damage, and they added a specific, like, internal trauma, like, oh, you wrecked your opponent's organs, good work. Damage type.
Yep. Every damage type has a damage over time type. So like fire has burning, cold is I think frostburn, lightning is electrocute, physical is bleeding. Internal trauma is I think just a weird like subtype of physical.
Presumably it's just one that people have less resistance to.
Yeah, the game just has a ton of damage types.
It's just like that. It's specifically like, oh, you didn't just do physical damage; you targeted their organs, and it's like kidney punch the spell.
It's pretty great.
And so this is Burrwitch Village, right? We're finally here.
Yeah, we're finally here. Until you can't activate the portals, which is this big fight. The game does this a few times. Has big fights around the portals, which is cool and fun.
Well, originally the portals were how a lot of these monsters got here, right? Or some of the monsters got here.
I think, yeah. Certainly, we'll see later that some of the portals do. Some monsters do come out of the portals.
So, I mean, it kind of makes sense.
We got another hidden quest here. Off this bookshelf, we'll drop a quest item that'll initiate a quest for us. Someone in town is a traitor and is working with the enemy, and this is proof, so we got to go confront him.
What a jerk.
I think we go back to town right now and do these quests. So at this point, we're gonna switch gears from running past everything and just like booking it through town. We're gonna go and start actually clearing out the maps because the enemies are a little bit tougher and take a little bit more time, and it's actually more worthwhile to do it.
Yep, looks like it's quest turn in time. So, we were talking about this before, and usually Agent sides with the other guy just so he doesn't have to come back and talk to this guy.
Yep.
Gotta have those speed strats.
Because normally, if you side with the other guy, you don't have that extra step of coming back and talking to that guy. Yeah. Of course, if you side with one in one difficulty and one in the other difficulty, you can have access to all the crafting recipes. So, because you can make different choices with reputation stuff on next.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it's still weird to me.
Have you found a rift?
It's a different timeline.
There have been countless Warden Krieg.
They'll even make references about it. They'll be like, "I feel like I've known you forever. Are we still friends?" And then you're like, "Nah, I'm gonna choose the other guy this time." And they go,
What do you want?
This guy's the traitor. So we can allow him to explain himself, And if he explains himself, he'll try to bribe us, and we can take the bribe, and he'll give us that strange key, and he'll leave town, but he'll give us the key. Or we can just say fuck him and kill him. The strange key is the big reward for the other side, and you get less of other stuff. So most of the time, I just kind of kill him because it gives better rewards initially, and then if I really want a strange key, I can find it myself.
I also like that we're having this giant fight right in the middle of this town, and everyone's like, eh.
What's with all the commotion?
Or, oh, it's a little bit of commotion. Oh, so now Devil's Crossing likes us.
Yeah, they liked us because we killed one of their people. And he doesn't ask for very much proof either. We just basically tell him he was a traitor, and he's like, yeah, he's pretty good with that.
Makes sense.
And here's our cook.
Gotta get some soup.
It does. Okay, so we have 2 health bars. If you've noticed, we have a red bar and then like a yellow bar that kind of overlays it and is transparent. The yellow bar will refill our red bar between combat. So if you don't get hit for like 5 seconds, the yellow bar refills your health, and then depletes itself. It's just a way to kind of make it so you don't have to rely on nothing but health potions. So you don't have to like walk along chugging them forever. You can, if you're not losing in the fights, you just kind of let the yellow bar take care of it. Picking up like soup in the field, like sometimes you'll find food on the ground, or you'll find like monster essences or something. Those will refill the yellow bar. And if you really are hard up to refill the yellow bar, you can go back to town and grab some soup.
Because he's a nice guy. I'm gonna just clear an inventory space here real quick. Maybe. Go faster.
Yep. Oh, you like reading.
Eh. Some of these items have really ridiculous names, too.
People don't mind the inventory management stuff. Like, you know, people will watch, because people who are watching this are probably at least somewhat curious about, like, what you're picking and stuff, so a lot of people don't really mind. I was doing a Let's Play of something, and I can't remember what it was, but I was trying really hard to minimize, like, inventory time, and people actually explicitly asked me to do more of it. So...
The thing that slows me down the most in this game is that, like, every single item has, like, 10 modifiers, even at, like, green and above. It's just all of these different things it affects, and so...
Right. Well, I mean, that's partly to, like, enable, like, other builds, like, because, again, part of the problem with Titan Quest is items have so few modifiers that things like pet modifiers are very hard to find.
That's true.
So when there's a lot of build variety, you have to have a lot of mods, because most mods, like, plus vitality damage, isn't doing anything for you, right?
Right.
So, if there's like 15 damage types, but only like 6 mods on every item, there's gonna be like a lot of like not having any good thing good. Anyway,
that's true.
But you'll get better at it. You'll be like, okay, I'm looking for physical damage, lightning damage, and defenses, and that's it. You know, so when you look at something that just says vitality damage, bleeding damage over time, you're just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, anytime I see vitality, my eyes will just start to glaze over, and I'll move on with my life.
Exactly. And this is vitality resistance. No, the real reason you should be ashamed of all of the inventory stuff is that you're still carrying around 2 fucking books that don't do anything. You should just throw them away. Also, I have a puppy now. I have a hellhound. He's ugly and not very helly looking. If I put a bunch of points into him, he would get bigger and more fiery and more helly looking. But I'm going to use him for support. I actually am only going to leave him at 1 point.
Oh.
Yeah, I might get some plus puppy skills though, and if I get plus puppy skills, he'll get a little bigger and a little bit more fiery. But and there's actually one, and there's still one more permanent pet I'm gonna be picking up that I don't have yet. And then after that, it will be a lot of other sort of support spells that I'm picking up. I'll go over what all my buttons do, and you should probably go over what your buttons do as we get them.
Okay. I mean, we can talk about that going through here.
Right, well, you don't have any buttons right now.
I
Like...
kinda do. A couple. We're basically just clearing out the town now, so it's interesting to look at, but not necessarily super interesting to talk about. Yeah, so I have I've got the swarm that is my big AoE thing, the big swarm of bugs that I've been using since the very first video. And I've got a passive skill called Mordheim's Totem that basically just gives me plus health and mana regeneration and a couple of other small buffs like that.
Yeah, and it's an aura, so we can see the guy with antlers, the little brown guy with antlers above our health is his buff bar. And you can see that that's also on me and all my dudes too. It's the little leafy particle effect.
And here
Looks
we're
like
looking
swirling.
at Sherman's Arcana, because all of they took a lot of care in like crafting all these towns and stuff. Everything's got a name on it. It's a trinket
and
store. It actually looks like someone used to sell trinkets out of here. And
It's the world building, like the actual maps, are very, very, very cool and impressive. And there's a lot of really fun things in there. Like I really like that sometimes you'll find like a room that's more or less unaccosted, and then you look and the reason it's more or less like untouched is because there's a line of salt in the doorway. Right? It doesn't do anything. It's not like it's a special magic room that you can hang out and be free or something like that. No, it's just like this small little world building effect that like somebody somewhere threw up this salt line and it kept their house a little bit safer for a little while.
and that was a sweet ragdoll on the explodey arrows.
Yeah, the ragdolls are a little bit toned down from Titan Quest. In Titan Quest, man, people really flew sometimes. But I also appreciate that if you overkill them by enough, they just explode. So I really like the core explosions we get sometimes.
Yeah, so one of our quests on this one is to find that guy's apprentice, who's in a cellar around here somewhere. And there are a bunch of cellars.
Yeah, they're all connected and they're all really boring. Like you just go down there and it's just some cellars with basements and stuff. See like see those two notes on the left? Can you just throw them away, please? Like I'm not kidding. Just stop. And they're all really boring cellars, and there's nothing particularly interesting in them. They all look kind of the same. So we're gonna run through one of them, the one that actually has the dude in it, and leave the other ones up.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we start the next video, I'll go through and make sure everything in my inventory is all up to snuff.
I appreciate that.
And I'll go through and make a skill list, so I'm not sitting there trying to read every single skill for 5 minutes, and I can just kind of talk about them.
You also haven't spent like any of your 8 or 9 devotion points.
That's true.
Did you do that Did you do that at any point?
I think I do in this video.
Oh.
I think I remember doing that at some point. It might have been after the video. If it is after the video, I will fire it up before the start of the next one and make sure.
Well, don't do it off screen, like.
Well, I mean, I will. If I already did it off screen, I will open it back up and be like, "Hey, here's what I took my devotion points in, and here's why."
Yeah. So we kind of to the bridge to our right up there is actually like the way to the next area. Like that's where we kind of have to go, but there's an alternate path with a side quest in it. So we're gonna do that.
Woo, side quests.
Someone in town asked us to get a bunch of fabric because they wanted to. They are the woman in town with a couple of kids. They're not her kids; they're just kids. But she wants to make the prison a little bit nicer place to live, so we're gonna go get some fabric for her.
Gonna brighten the place up a bit.
And it requires going to the dock. And the other thing is, on the way to the dock is this little, I wouldn't call it hidden because it's marked on the map. It's right there. But there's a cave down here. In this cave is a chest and a boss, and this chest is one of the one-shot chests. There's maybe 15 of these one-shot chests in the game, maybe more. And the first time you open them on any given difficulty, they're guaranteed to drop a unique item. So it's a good idea to know where they are and to go hunt them down every time you play the game.
I'll say I'm really sad because we made some sweet doc jokes in the live recording.
I remember the doc jokes.
But the moment's gone. So.
Okay. Well, the boss is dead. So, and this monster's horde is the guaranteed drop.
Yeah, the unassuming pile of garbage is the one that has specifically good shit in it. Which I think is kind of funny and a good design feature, because like this monster doesn't care. It's just like, ooh, shiny thing. I'm gonna go put it in my other pile of shiny things.
It's literally like a demon raccoon.
It's kind of what they look like.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, and we gotta be careful too, because the water that we're stepping in does a ton of damage. So you keep seeing us like trying to stay on the ground as much as possible, because the poo water will kill you.
Yeah, and you just saw my health bar there get filled up at the expense of the food bar.
Yeah, so the yellow bar is being depleted, which I really like that mechanic. I like the idea of health potions, right? Like a something to fill your health up in fights. But I don't like the idea of having to rely on it all the time just to stay at full HP.
I feel like it's a decent compromise between just, when you're not in combat, your health refills automatically super fast, and not having to rely 100% on health potions.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that like Diablo 2 was funny because it had that problem where the devs didn't like the fact that chugging health potions to get through bosses was like a legitimate strategy. Like it felt shitty, you know. And then, but you couldn't get rid of health potions entirely because then, you know, how would you ever refill health? And so there's been a lot of fidgeting with health potions in ARPGs to try to find an answer. I think I like what Path of Exile did the most. But I think Grimdawn is
I have actually not played Path of Exile either, so I'm way behind on my ARPG game.
In Path of Exile, which we can totally do, let's play Path of Exile. In Path of Exile, you get 5 equipable potions, like you just equip them, and it's like a medium health potion that you equip. And killing enemies gives you charges, which refills your potions, and drinking potions obviously uses charges. So it's a case where, like, when you go fight a boss, you only have so many charges, and you're not going to be gaining any more of them because you're in a boss fight. It also allows you to actually make the potions, like, magical. Like, this potion, in addition to just being a regular old health potion, you can also enchant it so it, I don't know, makes you unfrozen, or fills less health but fills faster, or fills even less health but instantly fills it. You know, like a whole bunch of things. So it actually makes the potions part of the itemization.
That's nifty. That's a cool system. Some of these items have sweet names too, like Gore Feast.
Yeah. My personal favorite are the soiled trousers, and they are a pair of pants that someone pooped in, and they look like someone pooped in them. They're brown on the back, and they give you an ability called Throw Suspicious Object. So, I'm not kidding. They're in this game.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and the Throw Suspicious Object does a little bit of poison damage and stuns.
I mean, I feel like I would be stunned if I had a suspicious object thrown at me. But yeah, all the quests are down there, but we're kind of going around and clearing out some of this other stuff because it's cool.
Yeah. So this is where we're supposed to be. This house is to our right. You see, this is Warden Krieg. That's his house, and obviously beneath his house is his secret laboratory. So that's where we kind of have to go. We are, however, going to head in the opposite direction and find some hidden stuff first. I should have had you drop a portal here to minimize backtracking, but oh well.
Yeah, probably. Oh well. Live and learn.
And we get to a shrine, which eventually will spend. I actually have already spent my points. Right now, my skeletons have a thing on them when they hit people. It sometimes shoots out 2 bloody teeth-looking projectiles.
Yeah, I was noticing those. And
yeah,
I was wondering where those were coming from.
That's a % chance for any of the skeletons that hit things. It just fires those off. That's not going to be the end game thing that I want on my skeletons, but the skeletons were like the only thing I had to put it on when I unlocked it, so I just did.
I know I was looking at the guides for a lot of it, and a lot of it is like, do this thing and go up here, and then remove like half of what you did and do this other thing with it, and...
Right, well, you'll see why when you actually open up the devotion tree.
But here's another one of your salt circles.
Yep. Well, that's why he lived.
It's super effective. And this is where my big old swarm of insects actually comes in real handy.
Oh yeah, like it's nice narrow always.
Yeah, full of enemies. They were doing a number on the goblins earlier too. So
yeah. Yeah, the insects is a really, really good skill. When I played my shaman, I used pretty much nothing but insects all the way up to like level 30 or something before I ever did anything else.
I might try and branch out a bit before then, but maybe not.
Well, you've already kind of done a weird thing, which is like put other points into other things. Like you're trying to kind of half like do your shooty things by putting points into that. But like if you're gonna do that at all, if you're at all gonna put points in other stuff, you should just completely remove the points from the bugs. Like, kind of splitting the middle is the worst of all options.
Yeah, but I want to do all the things.
You can't. Like, part of the fun of ARPGs is you have to make focus builds that can't do all the things. Like,
oh, well.
That's... Yeah.
Like I say, I'm sure we'll sit down and you can guide me, Sensei.
I
As to
don't know,
what I
man.
need to take.
I'll tell you. I told you to take the bugs, and then you're like, okay. But then you started taking other things too. I told you just bugs. It's just bugs. Level 30 bugs.
Oh, I've already maxed out the bugs. There's no more on the
Right.
bug tree.
Well, that's why you start. Then you guys start dumping points in the masteries, because like the benefit that the bugs give you is they make it really easy to just like bomb through the early difficulty, and then spend all those points in the masteries.
Oh, and we found a guy.
Talking to him through the wall.
Uh-huh. And so I was like, "Hey, we gotta take you back to keep you safe."
Yeah. How'd that work out?
Yeah, he didn't like that apparently, so he tried to murder me.
So that guy is a crazy dude, but you can talk to that guy and he'll give you a hint about this secret over here. Because notice we are now off the map.
I liked it too. One of your skeletons randomly transported on top of the bridge as we ran by and just started murdering enemies just for funsies.
Yeah, the skeleton's kind of like getting teleported along with me is like half the way I actually kill things when I'm playing for myself, because they'll lag behind killing things, and then as I run past, they'll like jump ahead and start killing things again.
How nice of them.
Yeah.
And I forget, is this another super duper chest back here?
Yes. Yeah, there's another super duper. There's an exalted chest back at the end of this place. Is a place called Hallowed Hill, and Hallowed Hill has a exalted chest on it. Are there more exalted chests in Act 1? Yes, there is. There's more exalted chests in Act 1, and we'll go ahead and we will find. We'll keep finding them in the next video.
Okay.
The warden marks the end of Act 1, so we're probably 75% of the way through Act 1. That's a big poisoning.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me when that happened. Because, like, you know, some of the enemies, like, fire enemies, you're like, alright, they're gonna explode or whatever, but just random boss enemies that don't normally explode, you're like, okay, whatever, and then, holy shit, run. All the little side rooms.
Yeah, this is what basically all of the cellars look like, which is why we weren't going in them. They're just kind of like dilapidated cellars. All right, so Hallowed Hill is, I believe, a cemetery. Like I think is what's out here. So of course it's got a bunch of very powerful enemies. So the way monster scaling works in this game is any given area will have like a level range applied to it. Like I don't know, Hallowed Hill might be level 20 to level 50. And so if you come here and you're anywhere between level 20 and 50, the monsters will be appropriately scaled for you. So it's possible to out-level areas, and it's possible to be under-leveled for areas. But in addition to that, some levels are like marked with like a difficulty modifier. Like Hallowed Hill is meant to be hard, so the monsters are always like 3 levels above. So if you come here at level 22, which is within like the 20 to 50 range, the enemies will not be level 22, but they'll be level 25. So when we go through the game, there will be some areas that all of a sudden see a little spike in difficulty because it's meant to be like a more difficult area. And then other areas will just be basically on par with enemies.
That's, I think, a lot better way to do leveling than just enemies in this area are level 5, enemies in this area are level 10.
Yeah, I like it. I like the scaling aspect. I like enemy scaling as long as it's kind of like done with a theme. Like it's done with a more elegant solution than which had terrible level scaling, like this sort. All right, so here's our chest.
Looks all fancy.
Yeah, that's what they normally look like. Big, glowy, golden chests. That doesn't do it, buddy. Aether damage. Aether damage is like the green people damage. Like that's why they're called Aetherials.
And most of them are pretty heavily resistant to Aether damage, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of enemies have varying resistances. But there is a class that basically focuses like largely on elemental and ethereal damage. When I say elemental damage, not elemental as in like fire damage and lightning damage, but elemental damage as a label equally splits between fire, ice, and lightning. So if you deal 400 elemental damage, it will deal 1/3 of that as fire, 1/3 is lightning, and 1/3 is ice. So if you have plus ice damage, and you deal 300 elemental damage, the 100 ice portion of the elemental damage will be boosted by. So it's a little finicky. But elemental damage is nice because even though it's a little bit finicky to get like plus damage to it, it doesn't care as much about monster resistance. Yeah, it's got new seal.
Oh, your poison aura there?
Yeah, the poison aura is actually a defensive thing. It is an instant heal when I use it. It makes you recover HP over time, and it also gives you poison acid resistance and increases your offense ability, which allows you to crit more often. And it's an AoE aura, so I'll be popping it pretty much constantly, and it will be boosting up our dudes and making crits happen.
I think. Go ahead.
I only got 1 point in it, so it's kind of shitty right now, but, you know.
I think having watched this with a swarm of skeletons to deal with multiple enemies, I might just switch to full out, like, power bow.
Like the two-handed sort of bow?
Yeah. And then if I find some cool pistols, I can always switch to the two-hand later, but just, like, focus on really strong single-hit stuff for boss monsters and let the skeletons just handle the hordes of enemies.
Yeah, you could do that. There's like some of the shaman abilities have really cool like two-handed like lightning buttons.
Yeah, no, I remember that from the last time we tried this. But yeah, no, now the ethereals hate us too. How about that? Can't imagine why.
So if we follow that path out there, it leads us on a fairly lengthy road that's eventually going to dead end. So we're not going to do that. We'll just head back. We'll just head back to the warden's house and start going through his dungeon.
Eventually, we gotta finish murdering everything first. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, you're not just gonna let things survive.
I like that the warden, presumably of this prison, because it's the only thing nearby that would need a warden, is like has this huge fancy house and has like signs out front that's like, "Hey, I'm the warden," and all this other stuff. It's just so ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's kind of because he was like a cheating, horrible person. A lot of these things. So he was doing scientific experiments on the people in the prison, which is why he's got this place in his house. And he was working with the ethereals to bring more ethereals in. So the lore is that ethereals are a otherworldly presence that can be brought into this world in possessed bodies. So when we see one of these zombie people, they are a human that has an ethereal inside them. So, and they call it like ascending or something. So what the warden was doing was he was ascending a bunch of ethereals on the demands of these other people.
And
nice guy.
When I'm reading all the things, I'm just going to scroll through them, and if you guys want to actually read them, you feel free to pause and look at them, but so far, or for the rest of the time, we're mostly just going to have Agent summarize what's going on.
Yeah, I'll get a lot of stuff wrong, you know, but I'll try to do as good as I can. We're coming up on the end of the video.
It's an ARPG, you're not here for the story. Like, you're here
Yeah, the story is interesting and cool, I like the world building, but it's not like, you know, you're not playing because of it. You're playing because it's fun to make builds and fight things and find loot. So after I turn in this quest too, we'll see the prison get all pretty. And we'll be stopping here. You haven't spent your devotion points yet, you crazy bastard. But we'll probably start the next video with that.
Probably.
We'll be on live commentary again.
Yep. Pretty sure I spent them in between videos, so I'll just fire it up and look at it again and be like, oh, hey, here's the devotions, here's how it works, yada yada.
Yeah.
So, next time back to normal, hopefully.